I'm Cathal Summers.
And I'm Deirdre Glynn.
Your Teagasc Sustainability Advisors, and you're welcome to the Teagasc Environment Edge podcast number 28, bringing you the latest information, science and opinion to improve farm sustainability. Former FBD Young Farmer of the Year and in 2019 overall Sustainable Grassland Farmer of the Year, Bryan Daniels, with up to 10 grazings per paddock and producing 17 tonnes of grass dry matter per hectare, joins us for a chat.
In part 2 of the interview, Bryan tells us about the sustainability actions he's putting in place on the farm, challenges and opportunities for farmers in the future, and work-life balance.
And you're using protected urea, Bryan, as well. How are you finding that, or are you using it long?
Protected urea, I suppose it came on the radar about, we're using it 7 years now, so we are. Our business manager with Lambia knew the values that we had, and he brought our attention to protected urea. Previously, it was mostly used in the tillage sector, and he said, look, you consider using this. It's got the lower carbon footprint, and it's more efficient for what we're going to try and achieve. So yeah, we've been using it for 7 years now. For the last two, this going on our third year, we've only used a protected urea. So we haven't used any can-based products. And the thinking behind that is that we're trying to reduce our carbon footprinting and the emissions from the farm. It works well. Last year, we grew across the 120 hectares up here in Rahinaran. We grew an average of 17.6 tonne. And that was with, sorry, I have it right here beside me. That is with an average of 164 kilograms of nitrogen to the hectare.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Very good. Yeah.
So it's not a bad going. But our nitrogen usage efficiency is 35%. So we're bang on target. But we look, to be honest, we reckon there's more to be got on that system. We could probably get that up high 40s if we get the clover working really well. So we could.
Yeah, the times we're in now with fertilizer prices and all the rest, but even aside from that, our sustainability and our environmental measures going forward, like it's really important to be able to show farmers that you can grow a lot of grass, but you can do it on a well-reduced fertilizer applications.
Yeah, there is even the Moore Park brought out a timetable for nitrogen application with clover, and it's less. It's about a third of some of the applications during the summer rounds. And that's what we followed as our initial guide, and it works. It really does work, and protected urea does work. There's no ill effects that we've noticed in grass tonnage growth or response. Like we run a short rotation round during the main grazing season in May, June, because of the tons we're growing. So yeah, we're running between a 15 to a 17-day rotation. We're putting on a bare sprinkle of urea, and yeah, look, it's working a treat. And we're not afraid to, if we see a decent percentage of clover in a field, we'll skip that field and we won't put the nitrogen on it. We'll try and encourage that clover to take it over. And it kind of goes down to that clover is a very sensitive plant, and if you put on the nitrogen, you won't get the benefit from the clover. But if you hold off, there might be a slight lag in the spring, but once that clover is established, it grows grass for the fun of it. So it's having the belief in the system that it does work, and it does. It really does work. So
you've got a very good handle as well, I think, on your soil type, your position in the landscape. You've got a nutrient management plan. You're good at manure management, liming program, etc. So you've got all of the boxes ticked there as well.
Farming is quite a simple thing. When you get the basics right, everything will lead on. Like actually, at 2:00 today, I'm going down to the Teagasc Centre in Muldavat to update our fertilizer plan again. We have soil samples from the whole farm done again this spring. We're doing it every 3 years. Lime is the big important one here on our farm. Between our rainfall and the type of soil we have, lime is the main one. K is self-maintaining. We can do that through slurry. P, we have been building it up, and we're getting it to the stage now that we just need to maintain it. And then the nitrogen, like I said, we're trying to wean ourselves off it at this stage. So we have. If the pH is right, generally if the pH is right, you'll correct the P, and if you have the P right, then you'll just grow the grass and the clover. So yeah, look, we'll keep tweaking the system, and that's, I suppose, it's one thing as well, that because of the system we have and the belief we have in it, the important thing is that we get it to the standard where it needs to be, and then leave it alone. Don't complicate it. We don't need to bring in extra feed. We don't need to push the stocking rate too high. Just find what works comfortably for the farm and then leave it alone. So.
And Bryan, could you give us a flavour of what you've implemented on the farm to improve biodiversity? We can see from your Twitter feeds that, you know, you're establishing hedges, that you're maintaining hedges to a very high standard on your farm. Could you just elaborate a little bit more on what you're doing there?
Growing up on the farm, we used to spend hours over in the bottom of the horse field, in the stream and in the grove there and everything. And so my parents did point it out, and my grandfather was a great man for planting trees and timber. Two of his brothers had sawmills. I suppose it was necessarily, you needed that material for building and fuel, but they also had the love for it. And even let's say about 2 months ago, we got a letter up from a man in Limerick. He had bought a second-hand book in an old bookshop. And inside was a letter from my great uncle to a plant specialist, questioning a flower that he had noticed in the bogs. And actually, that's on that farm down in Clunview that you spoke of on the Gorey River. So it's always been there, and we grew up submersed in it. And yeah, the things that we've done now since I've taken over the farm is, look, we've kept the tree planting going. My father introduced me to hedge laying, and his approach to hedge laying was that it was a means of fencing, and that we blocked the holes in the hedges and the boundary ditches. The farm up here, it's mostly big clay banks we have because of the altitude, but we do have skeochs and gorse quite a bit around it, and we need that cover to keep the cattle off the banks, that they don't puck it. So the rejuvenation of that, now, that naturally leads into the protection and the biodiversity increase and maintenance. But what we've done now as well is, along with the extra planting, there's areas of the farm that we have little groves on, and we're fencing them off now. The thing that we're started looking at in the last year and a half is the water quality on the farm. So there's numerous springs and dikes and drains on the farm. So we've increased out the margins of those. They have been all fenced since '97, since my father he was probably one of the first dairy farmers to go into reps. So they've all been fenced, and we're increasing the margins. But what we're doing now is trying to create silt traps. So when we had likes of the heavy rain there last Wednesday, we had a lot of runoff off fields. So we're trying to catch that water and slow it down before it gets to the drains, so we don't have the sediment loss and things like that. So we're looking at every little bit that's around the farm, and it isn't a case that we want to be all flowery and friendly and everything else. We enjoy it, and it's nice seeing it. Like we're lucky we have a good population of hares on the farm. We have numerous buzzards, sparrowhawks. We have a great population of house martins and sparrows around the yard. It's all these little things that we like seeing. And even, I said it before, is one of my key PAs is when I'm down the bogs at the lower end of the farm, where the river drains off the farm down and heads down for Mullavat, is when you're walking along over a bridge or something, you're looking at a lovely, nice, clear water, and you can see the silt at the bottom, and you can see the little invertebrates wiggling and swimming around. That's a nice little thing that what we are doing on the farm is hopefully not having a negative effect on the water quality. So every little thing we do will hopefully add up, that we'll end up with better biodiversity. So I suppose that was one of the things on that Grass 10 award that we won is the size of the farm and the tonnage we're growing. We don't have to have a negative effect. We don't have to accept that there's going to be a loss of biodiversity or water quality or anything like that. So.
Yeah, and that's how we need to tackle the issues going forward. I suppose the screw is turning a little bit on productive dairy farmers at the moment. There's a lot of negative, I suppose, commentary around social media and that, and there's some wars going on online. Are you worried for dairy farmers of the future, or are there opportunities to meet those challenges ahead, Bryan? I think you've mentioned a few already.
Yeah, actually, I saw probably one or two of the discussions online over the weekend of the people attacking dairy farmers for various different reasons. And look, I'll be one of the first, and it's been said before, we have done damage in the past. and there has been a loss of water quality, but the measures we have and the management that we're able to implement now, we should see hopefully a significant turn on that, and we'll see an increase in the quality of water, air, nutrient management, and welfare standards. In fairness, we're lucky in Ireland that because of the grazing systems that's across 99.9% of the dairy farms in Ireland, the animal welfare on Irish dairy farms is absolutely phenomenal. Like, the fact that our cows get out and can walk and graze is a huge thing that helps them. And in fairness, no dairy farmer wants to have a negative effect on their farm. It's not in their personality, it's not in their makeup, but also, and I've had this discussion with various people from environmental backgrounds and things, is that if we have a negative effect, we're not as profitable as we could be. If our animals are suffering or our soils are suffering, we're losing productivity. So the healthier and happier that their soils and the livestock are, the better. So like, we'd watch cell count very closely here on this farm. We've been lucky that we've been picking up the Cell Check Awards the last couple of years. But cell count is related to mastitis and the animal immune system. The lower cell count, the happier and the healthier the immune system is. So by monitoring that, we were able to keep an eye on it and make sure that there's nothing sinister building up within the herd as well. Going forward, I'd be very happy with where we can go with dairy farming. There is challenges, but we're more than capable of meeting every single one of them. I haven't been afraid to stand up and back it. And look, hopefully, like, I have a bit of a profile and a following. Hopefully, the people will see that things that we're doing here on this farm can be done widespread right across the country. And it's hopefully going to have that beneficial effect in times to come. So it will.
So you're also a family man, and business, I know, is very, very important. Dairying is a very challenging occupation. How do you manage the work-life balance? I know you mentioned earlier that you've some labour units there and you have a 5-2 system going. All of these things help towards, having a good quality of family life.
Yeah, when we were reading these the few pointers and questions you gave us last weekend, I read that one aloud at the table, and Gail looked up at me and I got a stern look. I'm far from perfect, but I am getting slowly better. But look, we grew up on a very busy farm. And I joke with my parents, like, the only reason they had us was because we could eventually drive tractors and milk cows for them. But look, we've done the hard graft now at this stage, and I'm very lucky to have a great family around me. Like, we have a wonderful wife who works on the farm with me. We have 3 gorgeous, lively kids. And yeah, look, they're not going to be young forever. And I suppose the benefit of one of my discussion groups is I'm one of the younger members in it. So I've everyone that's gone through the stage of life that I have, they refer back to, like, they don't stay young forever, and you only get one chance to experience these things. So yeah, that plays in my mind, and the rest is all kind of being adapted. And like the 5-2 roster in terms of getting time off and working that way we're quite remote. I joke that if you drive past the farm, you're driving back into civilization. So if we want to attract people to the farm, we have to be better than the rest to get people out past us. So what's going to make somebody to drive past a very good farm to come work for us? So regular time off, decent working hours during the day. So we don't like working past 6 o'clock in the evening. Even during calving season, I don't like working past 6. We don't start very early in the morning. Usually the first cow is milked the cups are on just before 7 o'clock. I generally do the morning milkings because I live on farm. The lads and the students, like here, they mostly do the afternoon milking, so gives them a chance that they're not getting up in darkness to drive to the farm to do milking. They're coming in around between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock, depending on the time of the year. So yeah, we've gotten everything. Just we want to be a friendly, happy place to work, and I want the time off so I can experience the life of the kids growing up. The pandemic caused a bit of a grief in terms of holidays, but we're slowly getting back. We have our holidays booked for later in the summer. We'll try and get a few days off here and there. And even like, I am passionate about the farm. I enjoy the farm, but I do like doing my own thing as well. Like, I have a workshop that's far too big for a dairy farm, but it's what I like doing. I actually have my own sawmill. I like I said, I looked at joinery making and cabinet making for a brief while as a career, and I have all those tools in the workshop, and I do a few bits in the house, and I make a few bits and pieces. So yeah, handcrafts are something I like. And look, if I'm working every day of the year busy with cows, I don't have a chance to experience and do the things that I like that are away from the cows. So yeah, we're just learning over time that we there's more to just milking cows, and that we have to live a bit as well and go see our friends. And dairy farming, I suppose one of the challenges that dairy farming is facing is that it is a very intensive place to work. But if we want to attract young people and people to work within the industry, we have to meet the rest of the other options out there. So we have to get down to a 5-2 roster. We have to give them regular times off, and we have to have a short working day. There's no point of somebody coming working for me, getting up before their partner and arriving home after their partner gets home. So the people that work for us also have to have a life as well. So if we can provide this environment, we'll hopefully all benefit from it. So yeah, it's a slow learning curve, and it's changing as we go along, and different things crop up. So it does.
Yeah, look, Bryan, it's always interesting to see what you're doing in the workshop on Twitter. You're always up to something in that workshop, so it's great to see it. Really, really enjoyed the chat today, Bryan. It just shows like you have a template on that farm that can show a lot of farmers, productive farmers, how to challenge the sustainability issues around the future. So really enjoyed it, and thanks a million for joining us on the show today.
Thank you,
No
Bryan.
bother, guys. It's great to talk to both of you.
That's it for this episode of the Teagasc Environment Edge podcast. Thanks to Bryan Daniels, dairy farmer from Kilkenny, for joining us on the show.
Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe to the podcast. You can listen on Apple and Google Podcasts, as well as Spotify. And for more information, go to the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie. I'm Cathal Summers.
And I'm Deirdre Glynn.
Join us next time for the Teagasc Environment Edge podcast, signpost to farm sustainability.